It's time to feel what you've been bottling up. Life in rural America isn't easy. The long hours, the constant pressures, the demands of the land, livestock, and family, it all takes a toll. We're tough and we've got grit, but somewhere along the way, toughness started meaning bottling up emotions and powering through. But here's the truth. That strategy, it's not working and it's poisoning us. Maybe you've noticed and maybe you haven't, but the numbers don't lie. We're breaking down and it's showing up in our bodies, our relationships, and in the rising suicide rates in agriculture. You don't have to carry any of it alone. There's another way. If you're ready to stop being weighed down and start moving forward, my one-on-one good movement guidance is now open. Visit the link in the show notes to learn more and see if one-on-one guidance could be for you.
I'll carry you, you carry me, we'll help each other through it. Come on and see, good movement draws good movement.
Welcome to Good Movement Draws Good Movement, the podcast where farmers, ranchers, and rural folks can grow relationally through awareness, understanding, and effective communication. Hey, it's T. I'm your host, and I, along with my guests, will be covering topics related to drawing good movement. Things like self and social awareness, brain science, positive psychology, extending grace, and so much more. We'll share tools that can help you understand why you are the way you are, why others are the way they are, and how you can use that to step out of self-told lies with grace and compassion to draw good movement in conversations, relationships, and life in rural America. Let's go draw good movement. Hey, it's great to have you back here on the Good Movement Draws Good Movement podcast. I have been sharing for a while about good movement on my social media platforms, and I get this question a lot. How do you learn good movement? And it makes me happy every time I get it because one, it's a great question. And two, it means people are interested in learning how to draw good movement. And I want there to be more good movement in the world. But it's also kind of a hard question to answer because there isn't like a step-by-step guide to good movement. Good movement comes from feel, and feel comes from understanding yourself and the animals or humans that you're interacting with. In other words, feel is the combination of self and social awareness. But of the two, I think self-awareness has to come first. When we're talking about good movement in cattle, we must be aware of our energy, our attitude, and our position because all of those things directly affect how the cattle respond or react to us. The same is true for our human-to-human interactions. Our energy, attitude, presence, and behaviors influence the actions or reactions of those we're interacting with. So good movement, whether we're interacting with livestock or our fellow humans, always starts with us. But starting with us is sometimes hard because honestly, self-awareness takes a healthy dose of humility. It takes recognizing that we affect more than we think and taking ownership of that. And I don't know about you, but my first thought isn't usually to look inward when things have gone awry and ask, what did I do to affect that result? Nope. Nope. My first thought is usually towards some external causation, whether that's other people, the animals, the weather, or really anything that isn't me. And then once you do actually humble yourself and become self-aware, it still doesn't always give the warm fuzzies because now you're awake to your own unsavory behaviors that yield negative results. And being aware of those things, while it is helpful, also just really kind of sucks. It's so much easier, I think, to live blissfully unaware. I don't know. What do you guys think? If you want to hear one of my unsavory behaviors that's been revealed on my own self awareness journey, that's great because I'm going to share it right now. It's going along to get along. And I know going along to get along might not seem that unsavory, but it was an extremely hard pill for me to swallow. I always thought I do what I want, I say what I want. But the truth is that I actually do not do and say what I want. I do often go along in a desperate attempt to get along. And that realization made me so uncomfortable that even after I became aware of what I was doing, I told myself, it's harmless. Going along to get along hurts no one. To be honest, I'm still working on that. And sometimes I still slip up and tell myself it hurts no one. But that's simply not true. When I go along to get along, not only do I give up on some things that I'd really like to do and do things I'd rather not do, but I also don't give other people the opportunity to really know me. They don't know what I like, what I don't like, because I just go along with whatever they're doing in order to keep the peace. And sometimes that going along backfires and ends up in not getting along because when I do that too much, I start harboring anger, and that later boils up over and out onto my unsuspecting husband, kids, or friends. So in reality, it does actually hurt people. It hurts me, and it hurts those I'm boiling over on. What opened my eyes to my go along to get along tendencies was a personality typology system called the Enneagram. The Enneagram is different than the other personality typology systems like Myers-Briggs, StrengthsFinder, the Colors Insights. Those are rooted in behaviors and what you do. The Enneagram, however, is rooted in motivations for your behaviors or the why behind the what. So it tells you why you do the things you do, not just that you do them. And frankly, I find that far more helpful. I really like the analogy of a car here when I'm talking about the Enneagram and why the why and motivations matter. Because if we have a car and it's running crappy, we know that it's running crappy. And at that point, we have two options. We can keep running it crappy or we can get it fixed. But we can't very well fix it unless we know why it's running crappy. And the same is true for us humans. We might be running crappy or running on crappy behaviors, but unless we really get down to why we have those behaviors, we can't fix them. The why matters. So I learned my Enneagram type by way of determining my core motivations several years ago. And in doing so, it was brought to my attention that type 9s, such as myself, often go along to get along. The Enneagram is a great tool for expediting the self-awareness process. But another great tool for growing in self-awareness is observation. And the pair of them together, look out. While the Enneagram opened my eyes to my tendency to go along to get along, it wasn't until I actually observed it happening that I was able to own it. So if observing things like your energy, presence, feelings, thoughts, and actions is hard to do in real time, you can start by observing through reflection. So thinking back on recent events or interactions and asking yourself questions about your energy, feelings, thoughts, and actions. And how did those things affect the situation or conversation? This is something that I have done and have found very helpful, is reflecting and observing. And the more that I reflect, the easier it gets to recognize these things and be more self-aware in real time. So at first, I started by making notes and keeping a journal, and then I was watching for repeating patterns. But now I'm able to pick it up more as it's happening. So now I'm much better at recognizing, using the example of go along to get along, I'm much better at recognizing when it's happening or when it's about to happen. And it still takes me a fair bit of effort, but I am getting better at giving my input and saying no when I don't actually want to go along. And what's resulted is stronger connections and less angry boilovers. So self-awareness can be hard and feel kind of itchy. And it can seem at times like it would be way more fun to remain blissfully unaware. But it's only after we become aware that we can make change, that we can draw good movement in our lives and our relationships. So to answer the question, how do you learn good movement? The answer is really by learning yourself and your tendencies and being aware of how those affect those around you. As I said at the beginning of this episode, while it does have to start with us, there isn't a cut and dried step-by-step guide to good movement. We've talked about but one aspect and only really scratched the surface. So if you've got more questions about self-awareness, the Enneagram, observation, or anything that we've talked about here today, feel free to send me an email or slide into my Instagram DMs and ask away. I'm here and I'm serious when I say I'm happy to help. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm so grateful for you. If you found value in this episode, I'd love for you to share with others who might also benefit from tuning in. Share by word of mouth, send it in a text, take a screenshot and post it on social media, or share however you prefer. And if you haven't already, hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, draw good movement.